What if I told you that in many parts of America, you can own the land, you can own the house, and a river can run right through your property? But if you decide to take a bucket of that water, you may be violating water use regulations without even realizing it. Most of us assume that water is a public resource available to everyone. But the reality is that water in the United States is governed by property laws that are often more complex than the laws governing your own home. In some states, pumping water from your land can affect water rights legally held by people located far away from your property. In this video, we're going to explore the invisible system that determines who can use water, who gets priority access, and who may face restrictions when supplies become scarce. But stay until the end, because understanding how water rights work may completely change the way you think about water independence. What are water rights? When people hear the term water rights, many assume it refers to ownership. But legally speaking, you rarely own the water itself. Instead, you own the legal permission to use water under specific conditions. These rules govern rivers, lakes, streams, reservoirs, and even underground aquifers. The system is so complex that having a well on your property does not automatically give you unlimited rights to all the water that comes out of it. To understand why, we need to look at the two different Americas that exist within water law. One of the most important facts about water law in the United States is that there isn't just one system. There are two major approaches. In the eastern United States, where rainfall is generally abundant, many states adopted what is known as the Riparian system. Under this approach, if a water source borders your property, you generally have the right to make reasonable use of that water. It's essentially a system built around neighboring landowners sharing access. But the western United States faced a very different reality. Water was scarce. Farmers needed it. Ranchers needed it. Mining operations needed it. And competition for water became intense. As a result, Western states developed a different legal framework known as prior appropriation. The rule is simple, but powerful. First in time, first in right. Whoever first established a legal claim to the water gained priority access, even over people who later purchased nearby land. If supplies become limited, the person at the front of the line keeps their access. Those who came later may face restrictions. Who controls water during a drought? This is where things become especially important. During drought conditions, states may reduce access for users holding lower priority rights. Those with senior rights often continue receiving water while others face restrictions. Have you ever checked which system governs water rights where you live? What would happen if your access were reduced tomorrow because another user held a senior legal claim to the same source? Water isn't just another commodity. It supports agriculture, industry, energy production, and everyday life. As reservoirs decline and demand increases, water rights disputes are becoming more important than ever. So who actually owns the water? In many situations, water is considered a public resource managed by the state. Individuals, businesses, farms, and organizations may obtain legal rights to use it. But those rights often come with limitations and responsibilities. That means owning property does not necessarily mean owning the water associated with it. Instead, access is governed by a complex combination of historical laws, legal agreements, and state regulations. Much of the system still relies on legal frameworks that were created more than a century ago, long before today's population levels and modern water demands existed. This is why the question has changed. It's no longer simply, who owns the water? The bigger question is, how can I secure my own water supply? Some people invest in private wells. Others focus on rainwater harvesting, which can also be subject to regulations depending on where you live. Others rely on water storage systems and advanced filtration. And in recent years, more people have become interested in atmospheric water generation. Unlike rivers, reservoirs, or municipal systems, atmospheric water generators extract moisture directly from the air and convert it into usable water. It represents a completely different approach to water independence. Instead of relying entirely on existing water infrastructure, it provides an additional source of water that operates independently from traditional distribution systems. Commercial systems can be expensive, but DIY technology has made atmospheric water generation more accessible than ever. The SmartWaterBox is one example. It's a home-built atmospheric water generation system designed to be affordable, practical, and accessible for ordinary families. If you'd like to learn more, you'll find additional information in the description below. If you enjoy learning about water rights, water law, water infrastructure, preparedness, and water independence, subscribe to Water Freedom. Every week, we explore the laws, systems, and technologies shaping the future of water. Because understanding water may become one of the most valuable skills of the coming decades.